All right, yeah. I guess we didn't get too deeply into it, other than just that beginning part with recognizing like the technical, getting some of the technical stuff out of there, or at least synthesizing it, honing it in more, right?
Yes. I mean, did you reread the notes again?
No, I actually did not have time to reread the
Okay.
notes again, but I can pull those up here.
Yeah. No, I got like if you want to, I mean, it's pretty. A lot of it is just clarify who wants what, and take
So,
out a lot of the fucking kill your
um,
babies, as they say. That was the big note. Kill your babies. If it doesn't move the plot forward, fucking get rid of it. I don't care how
yes.
attached. I don't care how attached we are to it.
So maybe it'll be good to just go a little bit into Barnhart and what his intentions are, like beyond the logistics of what it is that he's like doing in the story. Like,
Yeah. So what I was like, mind experimenting with earlier is like having there be like a movement like there is now, possibly in the real world because something happens, whether it be an innocent black man getting killed by police, but like the situations are escalated, the protests are escalated, and then you good?
yeah, no, I'm writing.
Okay.
I was just wrote the two things I wrote down were Zob Gob and Barnhart because those are some
Yeah.
I want to address.
Yeah. So I could my coming up with Barnhart's like plan, at least beyond freezing everybody and with the mind control, it's like what does he plan to do with that? Is like if there are protests going around all the country for whatever reason, I was thinking part of this is what could be him helping stop the protests and just gain more control. And I don't know if you heard me before, but I was saying like maybe have live streams posted everywhere across the country where there are protests, like in Times Square. Like it would be like you'd be confused if it was the police putting up this massive screen or if it was just, but they'd say it was like Liquid Crystal putting up screens all around the country so everybody could watch the final show and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So that they can have every state influenced with a group of people. And then maybe like it could almost be at the protests or near the protests so that people would almost get distracted with the show. And then by the end, everybody who had the vaccine all around the country would be, frozen and turned into mind control.
Yeah. Like, and that would immediately stop the protests.
Exactly. So at least there'd be like, oh, that's at least one layer of a want for Barnhart is to help stop the protests.
Yeah. And there should be layers.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something beyond that, obviously, but at least that's like, all right, now we can kind of, at least to me, that was making sense of the immediate thing. It's like, because it's cool. All right. He makes everybody at this concert 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people. He freezes them and controls them. But what happens, beyond that? And so to me, this was like, all right, well, what if we did that because I just saw today, there's a protest in every single state of the United States. So I was like, all right, well, they should put it everywhere there's a protest. So 50 different shows at one time, unheard of, the only show. And then everyone kind of gets whatever the logistics would be of setting up a screen in a city. But that would kind of be at least a minor goal, or at least some sort of goal.
An immediate like
for him and Hollis
thing.
Yeah. Him and Hollis work together. We see them in that Pentagon office. They're both doing the control program. So they have overlapping interests. So Barnhart would want the protests to stop because maybe, whatever I
really like that. Something that also comes to mind, I think we talked about last time, like in terms of the vaccine and how like this is not an anti-vaccine movie, looking at it as, okay, so there's this virus going around that is causing a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And the vaccine, we talked about how the vaccine is almost like, and there's even like in that scene where he's describing the vaccine, it's like a two-stage thing. Like on one level, the vaccine literally should inoculate people from the virus.
when I was reading that last night, I almost changed it. I was like, well, it's going to do what all vaccines do. And because it doesn't explain that, it just makes it seem like it's not a vaccine.
Right. It makes it like, yeah, it's like a
So I
secret
had,
shit. Like,
yeah, so I had that thought too. It's like, well, it should actually, yes, inoculate them. So I think he needs to say that for sure, because it doesn't come across.
So it should definitely eradicate the vaccine. So then, like, also thinking forward a little bit, like, okay, what is Barnhart's goal with this whole thing? So I like that. Number one, it's to stop the protests, like to stop the protests, because the protests, like thinking and putting ourselves in Barnhart's shoes as somebody like the Illuminati or these people that want to maintain order and control over the population, protests are not part of that plan. The protests are like, it's like Barnhart has been wanting to initiate this plan for a long time, but think about like the 1%, the 99%. It's like the 99% rising and rising and rising, threatening that 1%. That Barnhart and his order is being threatened by this rising protests. And at the same time, there's this virus going on, which may or may not be, like, I don't even think it's necessary to say that the virus was created by Barnhart. Like that's like, and that's what kind of stands this separate from like what the real world conspiracies are. Real world conspiracies, it's like, oh, the virus was intentionally put out there so that they could make the vaccine.
Right.
Which I don't think applies in this Mandala fictional story.
I don't think we suggested at all in this version that I read. It's just like, hey, there's a flu, no big deal, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, there's no ever any question about it. So I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah. So in this world, the virus is just like a thing like naturally that's happening. Like just like a pandemic starts happening.
However the Spanish flu happened, something like that.
Yeah. And like, even, it's like just as a real world thing, it's like there's a possibility that as the ice caps melt, there are things that are going to be released into the environment that have not been around for thousands of years. So there's like natural shit that can happen. Like you said, Spanish flu. So anyway, that's one of the things that's happening. And then the protests that are rising up are like the main are like, it's not like, because I would imagine Barnhart's had this plan for quite some time anyway. Yeah. But it's like now that the protests are happening, it's like that fight the system. It's like there's the war going on. Barnhart, it's got a running clock. Like we have to get this plan initiated now more than ever because of the protest, because his power is threatened by it. So
I like that to speed things up even more.
Yeah. It just creates that urgency.
Yeah.
And immediacy, and like why, and also it's another thing like why Barnhart, when we start to actually see Barnhart towards the end, and how like when Lilith goes on a bender and then he's the one that actually saves her, that's almost like indicative of his vulnerability. It's like Barnhart seemed like, and that's the thing about the Illuminati. A lot of people perceive the Illuminati as like these grandmaster people that have everything under control already. But it's like, that's not the case. It's really like they don't have the control. The only thing is they have us believing that they have control. And that's the only thing that keeps the control going, is our belief that they're more powerful than us. So like that is all under threat. And like the fact that Barnhart is the one that like actually saves Lilith in that time, I think shows that it's like, he even though the whole plan is to kill her anyway, it's like he needs to save her in order to kill her. That just shows the conundrum that he's kind of in. So yeah, I think immediately, that's a really good point. Like these protests being, it's just now more than ever. That's why. So let's say the protests are happening. Mandala Moment happens. She gets blown away. Everything's under control. Everyone's just frozen in mind control. Stops the panic. So like, let's think of a hypothetical. Let's like have a thought experiment. What's a hypothetical reality? Let's say everything did go according to plan. The protests are now stopped. Everyone is calm. The vaccine is over. I think, okay, so now this is something that comes to mind. Going to be jumping around a little bit, but I will build upon this a little bit. There's this whole idea right now, like with what's going on in the real world, people like even Joe Biden, like a lot of what that type of representation of, well, things are crazy now, but things will go back to normal.
Right.
things will go back to normal. I think on a level, that's kind of what Barnhart's trying to do. He wants things to go back to some sense of normal where there's still we still pay our taxes. We're still watching the news. There's the protests, it's like the protests aren't happening. It's just kind of like, let's reset and go back to a sense of normal where, you guys can continue doing what you're doing and we'll continue doing what we're doing as if nothing happened.
Okay, so when would you say he would have a year, like, back to 95, back to 2000? Like, are you thinking he wants to take it back to like 80 years ago, or what's
not even in like a linear time sense? I'm thinking just in like a concept of normal where like normal in the sense where let's say that after that happens and the silence is deafening.
Yeah.
What happens after that? Everyone just calmly goes home.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Calmly goes home. Gets into bed, goes to sleep, wakes up the next morning, and there's no memory of the concert whatsoever. The dome gets taken down. The show, it's like the show never existed. And then everyone just goes back to work. It's almost as if, like, when Morpheus offers Neo the choice and says, you take the red pill and fucking shit'll happen. Or you take the blue pill, or you're just going to go back to sleep and they'll be like, none of this ever happened. Mm-hmm. It's essentially like Barnhart's like dosing everyone with the blue pill.
Yeah.
Just like they go back home, wake up, and it's just like, all right, well, I'm just going to go back to work. Oh, it's like, the show happened on April 14th. It's like the next day's tax day. Oh, I got to pay my taxes the next day.
Right. Something to shift the focus. Right. Oh, back on regular stuff. Or what's that movie, Mercury? What's the other, Mercury Rising or something like that with
Jupiter Rising.
Jupiter Rising.
Ascending.
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending. Like when they have that whole big scene and she's like, everyone saw that. And then you look back and it's already being like put back together. Yeah.
Exactly like that. So like
that's a little bit more sci-fi, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what happens. Like in like everything just kind of goes back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. That's exactly what I was thinking.
And
they go home and they just forget.
Yeah, and like thinking on a greater level of like philosophically how this is, and this could also be maybe something that we can include somehow. Like one of the notes in the analysis is like what are you trying to say in this story? Like what is, as the writer, what are we trying to say?
Yeah.
In this story. So I think philosophically a big thing that's going on in the world right now, well, of course, there's the idea of going back to normal. Like we need to face it in this world that we're not going back to normal. And the thing is we don't want to go back to normal.
Yeah.
Because normal is what got us to this point.
We want to make what's happening now normal. Constant change.
Yeah, we want to, it's like, and then thinking about it, like there's the caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. Normal is like we're in the cocoon. And it's like, we want to go back to the way it was. We want to go back to being a caterpillar again, just consuming and moving along on the ground in a slow and steady way.
Comfortable.
But we're going to butterfly land. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is what Barnhart is trying desperately to stop.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So I think, it's one of those things where like putting into it, like what we want to say, it's like, no, like, there is a totally like I think you can kind of sympathize with Barnhart in a way, like, and I think it'll be good to put it, not to make him like, at first he's really that one-dimensional villain. Yeah, he's just a bad guy. Yeah. But like by the end, I think it'll be more interesting if it's like Thanos again, like Thanos, you understand where he's coming from with what he's doing. So I think we can sympathize with this idea. Like, yeah, this is fucking crazy what's going on right now. We just want to go back to we just want to go feel like everything's chill. We want to be comfortable. We want to be happy again. This is not happy. We want to go back to being happy. But the thing is like what Barnhart doesn't understand is that the butterfly is coming. The butterfly is coming. Like there's a new normal emerging, which is going to be way better than the normal we had before. And that's where Lilith comes in. Lilith is the one that catalyzes that, like breaks open the cocoon.
Uh-huh. I like that.
So I think that's like an interesting thing when it comes to what Barnhart's motivations are. What we're trying to say in the story is that, yes, it is totally justified and a reasonable thing to want to have a sense of security again. Mm-hmm. And a sense of like just acceptance. Like, it's just, we're in such flux and chaos right now that it's like, who knows what the fuck's going to happen? It's not a natural state.
No.
The idea of this being normal forever is like a scary idea.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So like, it's like one side of it's like wanting to go back, but then it's like the shift in consciousness is looking at it. No, it's like this is all part of that plan. Like Barnhart's plan was a good thing to get us to this point, but he is not the final domino in.
Right. Like V.
And which is what I'm watching. Right.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah.
Perfect. He couldn't pull the lever. He had to let the next generation pull the lever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's the next generation. She just did it differently than he set it up.
Even like Thanos. Like when he did the snap in Infinity War, that was the Mandala moment. Like the end of that movie was like, what?
He did.
It was literally like at the end of Mandala, like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
We're ending it here? But it's like by the end of Endgame, you realize that it's like that was necessary.
Yeah.
That was necessary for this greater truth to become a reality. So it's like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they work together, as they should, the protagonist and the antagonist. And they clearly represent, two separate parts of the caterpillar to, the transformation. He sets it up for her, just like he sets up Liquid Crystal. He literally, sets up the show and the stage, but it couldn't happen without her. So, and then I think there definitely should be just a Vincelli Barnhart scene, because I don't think we've had that in a lot of different drafts, and I think that'd be a good, pardon me, a good opportunity to not necessarily blatantly say all of that, what Barnhart wants the normal see, and explains what would happen after, the moment after the Mandala moment, but like where at least we can kind of show you, because there's not really many opportunities where we can show what Barnhart really wants, except at the end when he kills Chris, and it's like a very just scary, I'm evil, I'm a bad guy moment, but you don't really know why he's such a bad guy. So I think there should be, once we take some of this stuff out, I think we'll have at least one or two opportunities to put a Barnhart Vincelli scene, even if it's quick, and we could really see that's like the classic cliche, like the bad guy laying out his plan, but in a more vague way.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I think what might be kind of cool is Thor, please, come on, it's okay, buddy. When we did that thing for Lilith, by what was it? There's the wound.
Yeah.
What are they again?
The lie, the want, and the need.
The wound, the lie, the want, the need.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it might be good to kind of like understand what those things are for Barnhart as well.
Yeah.
Even though it's like we're not going to really get into all that necessarily, but just knowing what it is for his character.
You know more about Barnhart than I do, man.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's the hidden master.
Yeah, the hidden master.
So yeah, I think we've shown we've just talked about what he wants. He wants things to go back to normal. But what he needs to do is accept that they're not going to go back to normal, And his lie is that that's the only way to live. This is the only way that people can be civil. This is the only way society works. If after this, it's going to be chaos and we need control. This is the only way to live. This is how we've lived. This is, the American way.
Yeah.
And there's no other way. He just can't picture another way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the lie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know about the wound, like I said, a lot more about.
Yeah. So I think the wound has something to do with, like, if we're going to see Barnhart, let's just use the word Illuminati as a placeholder. Let's say Barnhart's is in the Illuminati, but he was raised in the Illuminati. Barnhart, I imagine Barnhart, like a lot of these people we hear about that are in the Illuminati, they don't want to be there in the first place.
Yeah, you're born into it, right? Or brought into it.
I feel like Barnhart was born into this, and
I'm just gonna stand for a minute.
yeah, for sure. I feel like his wound was, as a child, there was a traumatic experience where this might be a little sidebar, but I think I remember from college one time talking about like this, like Donald Rumsfeld, like when we were having our trips and everything at the house. I remember having this conversation about Donald Rumsfeld. Like imagine like a young Donald Rumsfeld in college, like in the Illuminati, just like with his Illuminati, sponsor, like, upper guy. They have like a psychedelic trip. And I remember this like vision of imagine Donald, like a young Donald Rumsfeld, and like, his, higher up, like, and taking him through New York City, like tripping balls, like looking at the city, and just like like a young Donald Rumsfeld's like looking around the city and seeing all the people, kind of like that scene in The Matrix where Morpheus takes Neo back into the Matrix, and they see the woman in the red dress, and he's like, look around at all these people, they're just going on their lives. Did you see the woman in the red dress? I feel like imagining Donald Rumsfeld having an experience like that, going through New York City, and this guy's telling him like, look at all these people, Donnie. Look at them all scurrying around, doing their business. They have no idea what really controls this world. Do you know what controls this world? And just like programming into Donald Rumsfeld that like you're on a whole nother level than these people. These are the sheep.
Yeah.
You are the shepherd. Yeah. And it is your responsibility. Like just this idea of like Barnhart, I feel like in that similar situation, I feel like he had an experience like that was so traumatic for him. Because like a lot of these these Freemason rituals, that's what happens. Like they do a sacrifice, like a mock sacrifice. Like in Freemasonry, when you're becoming a Freemason, from what I understand, there's this whole process where they blindfold you and you go into this room and you basically have to trust these people to kind of guide you in. And it's supposed to be a scary experience. It's supposed to be a simulated death where they bring you in, they put you on an altar, you're supposed to be naked. And then eventually what they do is they unblindfold you and you're laying on this table, and all of your Freemason buddies are standing around you with a sword to your neck. They all have swords to your neck. And it's supposed to be this like kind of scary thing. Like, we're killing you. We're killing the old you, and you will be reborn as a Freemason, as one of us.
Okay.
Something like that. That like I might be screwing up the actual like version of that, but there is like an initiation into becoming one of these things. And the more higher up you go, the more intense the initiations get. Like even in Skull and Bones, there's a similar thing where like you're supposed to get naked and get into a coffin and like be trapped in a coffin for a while until you have like a breakthrough experience. And then when you come out, you're reborn as like in the Illuminati. So I feel like I imagine Barnhart was just like a really nice, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. And, he's born into this thing and he goes through that ritual, but it was so traumatizing for him because on some level, it's just like, I just want to like in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where there's that, that prince standing by the window and the father comes in and he's like, I want you to have land. You're going to get married. I don't want land. I just want to sing. And it's like, stop that. I feel like that was Barnhart.
Oh.
I feel like that was Barnhart. But then like when he went imagine that mixed with that crazy Illuminati ritual, it just like destroyed him and just like fractured him and made him like a traumatic person. And from that point on, he became, a monster. Like he was made into a monster.
Yeah.
Against his will, which is now what he's actually trying to do to everybody else, because that's what happens. It's like you inflict on others what you've been, inflicted upon.
Yeah. That makes senes.
I don't want that. I just want to sing. No. You're going to be in the Illuminati and you're going to control everybody. I don't want to control everybody. And then like flash forward like 50 years and he's like,
yeah, that's all he wants to do is control everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I guess, at the root of it. because he didn't have control of his childhood or his trajectory. So now he wants complete control of everything. So no one can ever tell him. Maybe he can have that kind of complex about him. Like Vincelli tells him something, or someone tells him something, and it's not quite like John Locke, but it's don't tell me what I can't do, or don't tell me what I can do. Like he's very much, I am in control. That's his whole fucking thing. I am in control.
Yeah.
It's because he didn't have it before, and that's
yeah.
And and he knows these rules of this society. He knows all the secrets of how the way this world works. So if it were to change, it's almost like he'd lose his powers. He's like, I know how to manipulate people in this form of civilization, so it needs to stay this way so I can have the control.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the control, like that's when he saves Lilith, he's like, you're not gonna kill you when you want to be killed. I'm gonna kill you. I decide when you die. That's why he literally doesn't let her die. Yeah. Because he's like, I say you die. That's when you die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little Jimmy. Little Jimmy just wants to sing.
Jimmy wants to sing, but he can. Lilith can sing though, and that's you can do all the things I couldn't do.
Yeah, maybe that makes him even a little more jealous inside. Like
that's why he kind of likes. Like that's why it's like on a level. It's like that's his internal struggle. It's like he's like finally at that moment where he's going to fulfill the thing that he was meant to fulfill, but it's like he's going through that internal struggle as well. It's like Darth Vader, literally like Darth Vader, where he's meant to fucking control the Empire. And there's that scene at the very end of the Return of the Jedi where the Emperor is like zapping Luke Skywalker. He's like, Father, please. And Darth Vader's just like,
looking back and forth. Yeah.
And then he like picks up the Emperor and throws him into the thing. Like that's essentially what Barnhart's struggling with, like in that moment. Like we don't actually see him do that.
Right.
But
we see him on the side stage though at the end of the show. Like we've talked about that, though there can be like that direction that you came up with about the sandcastle and getting it kicked like that. We do see that through him, so we don't quite see him take the Emperor and throw him down, but you do see him experience more emotion about just everything,
Yeah.
Because even though he's succeeding, he knows somehow that that's not the way that he wanted it to go, So everything was exactly according to the plan up to that point, or like almost all the way, and then he realizes at the end that because of what she's doing on stage, he can tell that he's not in control and that she's now in control.
Yeah.
Even though the Mandala moment still happens, it wasn't like the energy was different, like we've talked about.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like we don't actually see after Lilith dies, but it's like when Lilith dies, it's like in a way she sets Barnhart free.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point where like there's the red card scene that like may or may not actually be in it, but just like the idea of like Barnhart in that very moment realizes that it's not gonna fucking it's not gonna work, but in a way it's like good. Like I accept it. I accept the fact that I'm going away for the rest of my life. But you know what? It's like at least it's over because he's been suffering.
Right. Yeah.
And that's like
relief.
It's relief. And it's like and that's the whole thing with the Illuminati in a sense. It's like they're human beings too. Mostly. In general, like let's just say they're human beings, like so it's like we gotta understand that they're in pain. Like think of the Skeksis and the Dark Crystal. Like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're suffering or in pain the whole time. And that's all they know. So that's what they do. They know what they just do what they've always known. And when Lilith dies, it sets him free. Like she frees herself, which then sets him free.
Right.
Ultimately setting everybody free.
Right.
So by enacting this awful plan that like he always like we see as a really bad thing, and in a lot of ways it is, it was all part of there was just a whole nother layer of the plan. And just get the visualization of the pyramid with the capstone, like the dollar bill Illuminati capstone. Lilith is like when she dies, that's the moment where the capstone comes back onto the pyramid, and it's a complete pyramid again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's like when we at the end of the movie we leave it in a place where it's kind of like you have to, you know, we're not just hitting you over the head. It's not like the happy ending. We're like, oh, the capstone's back on and everything's good again.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not how life works. Life doesn't always have a happy ending in that way. You know, you got to use your imagination.
Yeah, agreed. And that, you know, we've always talked about that. That might be a issue with whoever is producing the movie. You know, the ending, you know, people might want more of a, who knows what kind of world it'll be when the movie comes out next year. But yeah, I'm sure somebody will fight having the ending be so abrupt. They'll want to see that next scene. You know, they'll want that. They'll want at least the red card scene. Or people, you know, walking home into their houses as quiet little obedient people. But
then again, it's kind of
deal
like,
with that.
you know, it's in a way, it's like Arlington Road, where it's like, it's that, like, holy shit, like, it's unresolved. The bad guys are still out there. Jeff Bridges is dead. Like, nothing's resolved. Like, in fact, like, this is tragic.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see also, like, even in Arlington Road, like, after the explosion and everything, like, imagine they just left it there and it didn't do that, like, thing where they show the news coverage of, like, what happened afterwards. Jeff Bridges, the sole guy, like, he did it. So there could be something like, you know, there should be some sort of thing like post credits, or I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's what could make this movie that much more unique.
Right.
That it doesn't, like, we're not following the fucking Hollywood structure in that way.
Yeah.
And I think
go ahead.
Well,
and I think because it's not, because it is like I think we can. I think it'll work. I think it's good to do it that way, and especially because we'll know there is a story. It does go on beyond that. You just don't see what it is.
Right.
And we can write that if at some point we probably should, at least in like outline form, just to have it written down, like what happens next. You know, as far as you want to go into the next year, the next 5 years, whatever.
Yeah.
But we should just have that, just to have it. And then definitely the red card scene. But yeah, I think that's always been the seminal moment of the movie. Obviously, is like the big build up and the big twist, and then the abrupt, the silence is deafening. Like that's always been.
We want to leave people in that holy fuck moment.
Yeah, and then have them sit there. We don't want them to leave their seat. We want them to sit in their fucking seat for 10, 15 minutes. What the fuck?
And like, and the thing is too, with the cuts of like certain, you know, like the things that are not necessarily moving the story along. Also, you know, I just wanted to bring this up too. I watched The Dark Knight Rises the other night, and I feel like that movie like does it to a very extreme degree of like, like the whole movie is just like, this happens, this is, and it does not follow linear time, because like the whole time like Bruce Wayne's in that fucking hole, and it's played out like movie time wise, like one thing after the other, but like he was down there for a really long time. Like Bane's up on the podium, and then there's the, like, next thing we see, Bane is in the courtroom. Like there was a lot of other shit that was going on, but still, like, they did it in such a way where it was like action point, action point, action point, you know. So like I feel like, and I mean that does it to an extreme degree. I think what made that movie a little weak was the fact that it was too much. It was too much. There was like those gaps were like too much to make it like, it was just like we're watching, I don't know, like it was like watching a propaganda film.
Right.
But yeah,
so we could like split the difference there, and you know, not be but like
yeah, and then builds up to the end, and then finally So and then also, so cutting out those like scenes in there, giving more room to like insert this social context, to insert more of what it is that we're really trying to say via Lilith's character, especially. I think those things will plant enough seeds so that like the movie will have an abrupt ending, But when you watch it again,
Yeah.
you will see everything laid out very clearly. And you still haven't seen Midsummer yet, right?
Correct.
Okay, so like again, like that's another really good example of when you watch a movie and it's like, holy fuck, you watch that movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's relevant more now than ever, especially with this
Okay.
conversation, because again, when you go back and watch the movie again, it's like, oh, they were showing me everything the whole time.
Yeah.
They were showing me everything the whole time. I just didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves you in a like, what the fuck moment too. It's, dude, very Mandala in a lot of ways.
Okay. Yeah, I got to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing too. It's like, I don't think we definitely don't need that epilogue scene, because the whole idea is that there's all these seeds being planted, and visually through the characters, through dialogue, through like the social context of things, that when you watch it the second time, that is the epilogue scene
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, I think.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to go mobile. Mr. Wayne.
Yeah, I remember not really liking that movie when I saw it, but I've only seen it the one time.
Yeah, that's the same thing here. And I watched it last night. I'm like, I still don't really like it, but it's like at the same time, it's very interesting. Like there's that scene where Batman's fighting Bane, and Bane is just like, Batman throws like the sparks in his face, and it's like, it's like, interesting tricks, Mr. Wayne, to the uninitiated. Like they don't phase Bane because Bane's in the League of Shadows, and like that doesn't work on him. Like,
right, yeah.
You know, like you're not initiated. Like, you know, if you weren't initiated, that if I wasn't initiated, that would have really threw me off. But I am initiated, so shit doesn't work on me.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. How much did you hear before on the other, like when we started before, about the Lilith and Jeff
stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole thing with like the whole,
just to kind of give her
something to fight for.
Yeah. Besides like I just need to be free. You know, she doesn't pronounce anything. She's not about anything. She's just run down, dragging along. So to have, you know, it doesn't need to be in your face, but it could just be a couple of little things here and there just to give her something, you know, and then that could add more spice to it, you know, more pace to it. If we have protests in there, and maybe she sneaks out to go to a protest or something like that, you know, like there's just more possibility, I think, to add to it, to add to conflict, to add to stakes.
Yep.
And you give her a purpose, you know, and that can kind of reinvigorate her, you know, like it's like, how does she keep dragging along? Maybe this activism can, you know, reboost her battery so that she's like, oh yeah, you know, she's got something to fight for, instead of just being, you know, in love and distracted, and then going out and performing all of her energy away and just being completely drained, and then do the same thing the next scene, and it's like, wow, she's just like she just turns more and more into a puddle. So maybe like, yeah, having something like this could really energize her and give her a consistent, it's always like something to do too. It's like, oh, what's happening? Oh, something else happened with the protest, and you know, to kind of amp it up. It's like Raymond Chandler, who I've been, you know, studying and reading a lot, does all the old Private Eye, you know, cool talking detective stories from the 40s and 50s. And he said, whenever it got too boring, I would just write in a guy walks in the room with a gun. You know, we can kind of do that with the protests or like the street movement. It's like anytime it gets a little bit too wordy, cut to the street or cut to Barnhart or cut to something that kind of like, you know, brings up, keeps the pace up, instead of just talking and oh, clever conversation. You know, because if we really want to amp up to the end, we need to add a little bit more spice like throughout. And I think and
that's also that she is directly tied to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then like I was saying before, like that could be something that, you know, has been like she's always been an activist. It doesn't have to be extreme. And then, you know, between her, you know, she could be like giving her life for these other people. And then Jeff, you know, like I said, could say that maybe one of the last things he says to her is, you're always fighting for other people's freedom, or you're always, you know, trying to help other people when you need to like help your, you know, the cliche, you need to help yourself. but you need in order to free other people, you need to be free yourself, you know?
Yeah. And
Um,
and she and like with the context of before being with Melissa, she was much more like in that world. But then when that whole traumatic thing happened, it really like threw her off to the point where she realized how not free she was. Like it just kind of brought her back. It was a descent moment. Like she was on this rise, and then there was a traumatic experience similar to Barnhart, where like he was on this rise, like I was like, I want to be free and sing, and then just like and then like went down.
uh-huh.
And then and just he never had that opportunity, like but similar, like that's when we meet her, is like right when she's at that fall. So like one of the things that like what I want to do, like it comes to mind, like I'm just not sure like like Zobgob. Like I think we need to have something like that, but it just like Zobgob, obviously we have affinity for because of, first of all, like what that means to us in context of like what the word Zobgob means. And like I'm just wondering if it might be a little too abstract, like because we were like you mentioned, like it's like what does Zobgob mean? Well, it's a bunch of gibberish, like well, and it represents a movement. Like I don't know, like how does that justify like in the real world of Mandala, of that story? Like let's play with that. Like let's discover like okay, like Zobgob. What is Zobgob exactly? Like why is it called Zobgob? Like those are things I think we need to just like identify. And I'm totally with you. I think we definitely need to have that thing. I think we need to really like lock in on like, is Zobgob, I'm not totally tied to the name Zobgob.
Okay, yeah.
But that is a placeholder
Mm-hmm.
for the movement that's going on.
Right.
Like I just feel like it might, like I don't know, it just might be a
Well, I
little
mean, how?
unclear. Like it's gibberish. What does it mean? Like, well, it
Yeah.
means the revolution. Like,
Right, but yeah. Yeah, I agree. the the only thing is I don't want to tie it to a real life thing. Like I
oh,
don't
right,
want it to
of course.
be Occupy Wall
Black
Street,
Lives Matter or
Black
whatever.
Lives Matter. Like you don't want to do that because you just don't know. There's too many connotations to everything.
Absolutely.
So that's why in the moment it's like, all right, Zobgob already existed and it literally has no affiliate. Like you couldn't make sense out of it if you wanted to, which is why but I think the root of it, the big question that I'm asking you, I guess, is because this is kind of, I was essentially on this walk, I was thinking, I was like, all right, well, what if we literally added what happened here last week? Innocent black man gets murdered by a police officer. Like, what if we literally added something like that, and then everything literally that happened in the last week we just put in the movie, either like halfway or something, or a little bit before, just to kind of get things rolling, and then have her be part of like protest, and then be part of a movement. Like, how do you feel about all of that? Do you
I feel
like
great about
part of that, or
no? I like all of that.
okay?
I think that's great. One second, I'm gonna turn my air conditioner on.
Okay, is that what Thor's yapping about? Turn on the AC, Dad.
We'll see if that works. Probably not. Yeah. So I think like what would be good is to have like it's not Occupy Wall Street, it's not Black Lives Matter, but it should be something clear enough in the story that would be like that.
Right. I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick.
Yeah. That's
Be right back. Oh, sorry.
all right. Sounds good. So I had a thought. I went to the bathroom and I had a thought. Okay, so there's the Occupy Wall Street thing, which really addressed the income and wealth inequality with the big money at the top and, everybody else. Black Lives Matter. The whole idea that Black people are unfairly and unjustly treated way more harshly than any other people. And it's like this unresolved thing about like slavery and an atonement that never really happened in this country for, like, as Obama put it again, the original sin of America, which I think is just one of the original sins. The other was the Native Americans. But anyway, I was thinking in the bathroom, what about homeless people? Homeless people in the sense where it's like you looking at like downtown LA, Skid Row. In California now, it's like I think we got the most horrible like homeless people problem in the country, and it's gonna get worse, like with everything that's going on.
Right.
There's this whole idea like Uncle Bruce talks about in the Darwinian thing. There's a survival of the fittest. That's like there are people that look at homeless people as like they deserve to be homeless because they're weak, because that's their problem. They're lazy. You know, they're there because of themselves, not because of the system. Like, what if they're in this world, there's like a growing movement of like those kind of people, like kind of representation of like the Barnhart even way of like looking at what if like there's a systemic problem of murdering homeless people, not just murdering them, but like treating them like absolute shit. Like, isn't that true? That, I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like, you know, you see homeless people, like you go to Skid Row, people are just like afraid to go down there because they see them as a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if it's like in this world, there's like a thing where it's like, and I mean, this is just a thought experiment. I'm not like fully attached to this or anything at this point, but just like we're talking about like a George Floyd situation. Like, yeah. What if there was like a murder of a homeless person?
What color was their skin?
Doesn't matter. It could maybe.
It does matter.
Well, it does. It does.
If it's about black, because if it's a black person, then it's a black thing.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Is like because again, with Black Lives Matter, George Floyd got killed. This is like, that's Black Lives Matter, specifically Black Lives Matter. We don't want to necessarily just do that. It's not just about black people. Like, we want to make this unique, right? Like, it's a separate thing.
Yeah, but we also don't want to,
unless we want to make this like about black people.
I think that's the big question right now. It's like, because this is not an issue that's going to go away. And if we're making the movie on the scale we always believe that we're going to make it in, if we make a movie about people who are unjustly treated in the United States and that people look down upon and say that they put themselves in that situation and it's not the system's fault, that's people of color. Like, you know,
it is, but it's not just like only black people are homeless.
I know. But like addressing an issue like that, but not addressing the race issue would be like avoiding the issue. You know, to me, at least that's.
So then what you're saying is like, it should be like, it could be a way of
literally real life, literally the same way that it is for real life.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be more or less this or that. You could just be what it is right now.
Yeah.
Because that's the most relatable thing. And that's the most accurate thing. Like
yeah.
there is an issue with the homeless people, but right now the people who aren't homeless, who are like, you know, we have to work our way down apparently in society. Like, all right, we have to show you that these people matter. And homeless is unfortunately on the bottom of the list. So to like skip people that are brown and black would be like, I don't know. I could just see it being like, well, why are you addressing an issue without addressing this issue, you know?
So then there must be a way that we can.
But it would be very, very bold of us to put something that divisive, not divisive, but that like political, I guess it's not political because you're just saying it's a humanitarian thing, but it's a very intense issue.
Yeah, so and it's like a systemic thing that like, it wasn't just George Floyd, like in the Black Lives Matter thing, it was like, that was the tipping point. But then there was this other guy and this other guy and this other guy. So like, I imagine in this situation, there'll be that one guy that gets killed, but it's like in the building up to it, it's like, this was the final straw. There was this guy, there was also this guy, then there was also this group of people over here. Like, I'm imagining homeless people. It's like, what if a bunch of cops just like went to Skid Row and just fucking murdered like everyone on Skid Row?
Yeah, who would complain about that? You know, like that they don't have a voice.
I'm sure a lot of people would complain about.
Well, right, but I'm saying like they don't have a voice. Definitely, yeah, they're definitely the easiest to prey upon. Like very, very.
And again, like that could be like let's say that were to happen right now. I legitimately think like in a situation where, let's say, maybe it isn't just that one person. Like, imagine it's like, let's say Skid Row, like that's the event, like that kicks off these protests. Is the cops go in and just fucking murder like a bunch of people on Skid Row.
Okay.
I could see a
Okay.
that's a legitimate reason in real life for fucking people to be like, whoa, this is gonna fuck, like, you can't do, we're gonna rise up and fucking, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, they're homeless and like, but you can't just go and murder everyone on Skid Row. Yeah, sure, like, they're at the bottom of the rung, but like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I could see that being a reason to incite fucking protests if that were to really happen.
Agreed. And you could have, obviously all races are in Skid Row.
Exactly.
And you could also have, the thing that could connect it to people that are not homeless, that are, at least in society a little bit. It could be like, if we have this pandemic in there, so let's just do everything that we have in real life right now. Like, if we have this pandemic and we have all these people that are unemployed, there could be a lot of people in Skid Row, obviously there's a lot of homeless people that weren't homeless people a month ago.
Right.
So they still have friends in society. They're like, I know that dude. It was like, there could be personal things like that was my neighbor. That was my, like, I literally
lost their job because of the
pandemic. Lost their job in just bad timing, car accident, lost inheritance, whatever. Now they're on the street. That was literally my neighbor. And it's like, that could be the connection of people.
Yeah.
I like that, because it's different. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to just be like that one guy or like a race thing. Like, I mean, but it, like, because that's what our idea is we want to make it, resonant and real to the times, but also not specifically like, we don't want it to be like, oh, they're just like basically saying George Floyd without saying George Floyd.
Yeah, right. You're right.
Definitely. And like, and I like that idea too, that like the desperate times of like going in and just like, there's like, it's not just the homeless people, but then there's all these people that, because shit's getting more economically taxing, that like, yeah, like you said, I knew that guy.
Maybe there could be somebody, like somebody's son, like somebody famous's son, like some senator's son, or somebody connected to somebody in high society that just became homeless, somebody's cousin, somebody's niece, some sort of connection, like where they report one of the people lost in the massacre was XYZ's nephew, who like, it just has to be something like,
and it's thematically fits too with like the whole idea of like the conspiracies of like depopulating planet, depopulating, like a population problem. And like there's the gentrification thing, like, like that's the whole idea. Like there's tent cities all over the place. And, like, let's say the local government of the city working with the police decide, like let's just say Los Angeles, like the city government's like, we're gonna clean up this town.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the cops are like, yeah, okay, like go ahead, clean up the town. Then the cops go in and not only just like kick them out of their places, but like in the process murder a bunch of people.
Yeah, right.
Like,
they could be aggressively evacuating the tent, Skid Row, literally, and some people were not abiding, and then all of a sudden you shoot 5, 6.
Just start fucking beating the shit out of them until they all die.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even all die, but like they people do get killed, and that really incites the thing. And like I feel like maybe I like the idea of it being like somebody kind of noteworthy's son or daughter or whatever that kind of like incites this. And at the same time, like maybe it doesn't have to be, because George Floyd, like doesn't come from like, it wasn't like he was the brother of fucking Denzel Washington. Like Denzel Washington comes out like, it killed my brother.
Right.
Yeah. And then that also, I think, will make it's like, it's not just about race.
Yeah.
That's
but agreed. But inevitably it will be, just like if there's a big upheaval about it, it'll be like, people will be like, this is a bigger issue. Like in real life, that it wouldn't just be like protect the homeless. It would turn into, these people have been mistreated. Like, who are primarily homeless?
Yeah,
these people.
That'll be part of it. That like in the like the scenes where we're going to be seeing this happen in the news, or like people are going to be talking about it. Like Lilith is going to be really passionate about it. Like that's the thing. It's like race is part of it, and also it's like taking the Black Lives Matter thing and the Occupy Wall Street thing and the income wealth and putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing. It's like, yes, proportionately, minorities are homeless, but then again, it's not just minorities. And I think that will appeal to Lilith as well, because she's not just fighting for, it's like, cause that's the thing too. Like talking with my dad yesterday, like when he posted the video, the picture, and he was like, all lives matter. And it's like, no, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of the thing. It's like, no, we can't, all lives matter and Black Lives Matter. And the reason we can't have all lives matter is because Black lives don't matter.
Right.
Like, Black lives need to matter in order for all lives to matter.
Right.
If you don't put that fire out in that house, the whole neighborhood will go into flames.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, in a way, I think it kind of addresses both of those. And I can see that being part of the struggle and part of just the need for protest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just kind of sparks it.
The race thing will definitely come up.
Yeah.
And also it won't be as just simple as like, and direct of a reference to the Black Lives Matter thing.
Right.
It'll make it its own thing, but it'll still be in there. It won't like when people watch it, like, well, they're kind of like brushing the whole race thing under the rug.
Uh-huh.
We won't do that. Like, it'll definitely be part of it, but there's also this other thing. And that comes back, like you said, the humanitarian concept, because Lilith is a humanitarian. And I think that's one of her biggest things that comes into it. It's like Uncle Bruce even says, like, there's a crisis here and there's a crisis here and a crisis here, like trees in a forest. But we're not recognizing that this is a forest of, like, take a step back and realize that all these crises are connected in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the qualities that Lilith really exhibits, is that she has the ability to recognize a bigger picture of this. And that's what gives her that, you know, that's why people really like her. That's what makes her so passionate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she could even say that, you know. I mean, that's always been the thing, is that she can see the big picture, but she can't see, you know, what's right in front of her. That was, you know, our reasoning for her being able so easily manipulated, is because she's always on the grand scale of things, you know, which she's brilliant at. She's always been brilliant at. So that she's a natural leader, and can see how everything's connected and be like, this is touching on a bigger issue. It's like she could get asked by the press, like, why is everyone making such a big deal out of a couple homeless people? And she's like, you don't see how this is everything. This isn't just a couple of homeless people.
This has to do with race. This has to do with wealth inequality. This has to do with the fact that we don't see ourselves as all one big human family. We're treating each other like shit. Like,
exactly.
It brings it to that big level. It's like we address those things, and it's like, exactly, like, see the bigger picture. And then that's the thing, like we were talking about before, like with Jeff, it's like you're trying to free everybody, but you're not free yourself.
Mm-hmm. She's distracting herself with freeing everybody and ignoring herself.
Yeah.
And I think I was even, I threw some Marvin Gaye on earlier, and I was like playing it's one of my favorite, like, it's an album that just plays through, you know. It's, you know, every song kind of weaves into every other song from his What's Going On album. So it's just a great thing to throw on, and it just flows. And obviously it's very timely right now. Like, it's a great, and just the tone of it has like a, you know, and it's upbeat, but it's like melancholy. It's like bittersweet, because that's how people were feeling. It's like, we gotta, come on, what's going on? Let's do better. But it's still like a sad, like, but this is tough. This is really hard. And I was just imagining playing that at a rally or at a protest, like having kind of music. Cause I don't know if I haven't seen any pictures of people with drums or guitars or singing. I haven't seen any of that stuff. You know, back in the day they would sing and shit. Yeah. And I think that the power of music, you know, has a lot of, the music has a lot of power. And obviously that's kind of a theme of the movie, is that Barnhart is using the power of music to do one thing. And maybe Lilith can see the power of music. Obviously she does, because that she's a live performer, but maybe I just picture her bringing a boombox, going to at least one of the marches. And then I'm picturing a scene like, you know, like Children of Men. It's kind of like, it starts off when they're bringing the baby, when they're, you know, like that moment when they're bringing the baby out of Children of Men, and it's like they're in the middle of a war zone.
Oh yeah.
And everyone's quiet. It's like, oh my God, the most beautiful music and movie. Yeah. And then someone starts shooting again. It's just kind of over like that. I can picture when things start escalating. I could see her. We don't have to do this. It's just what I came up with in my head. Like, she's got a boombox. Picturing your boombox back there that you got in their background. just bringing that. Maybe they don't know who she is. Maybe she's got a mask on. Maybe people do realize that this is the Lilith. But she goes. She has permission. She has like bodyguards hidden in the crowd, to like help her just in case shit pops off. And then I just see this like cool moment of her bringing this music, this playing Marvin Gaye. Is just what I had in my head. And everyone kind of is like, yeah, and bringing the mood up. People are singing like what's going on. And it's kind of like creating a real different vibe to the protest. Instead of so angry, it's kind of almost turning into like a dance and almost a celebration. Like, we're out here, come on, we're still chanting, we're still here for a cause, but everyone's kind of grooving and using the power of music positively. Yeah. And then just like Children of Men, there's this beautiful moment, and then all of a sudden tear gas and just start getting beaten with batons and flashbangs, and just like crazy, like all of a sudden, and that kind of gives you a taste of the ending, like kind of being shocked, getting used to being like, hey, by the way, there's going to be this moment, and all of a sudden, don't be comfortable, almost. Yeah. And then her bodyguards like grab her out of the protest and put her in a car and make sure she's safe and stuff like that. But I don't know, I just like pictured, just to kind of add to the escalation, and when the protests kind of get out of hand, and it shows you how crazy firsthand the world is getting, and more out of control. And Barnhart needs to, it's the ticking clock of Barnhart being like, oh, this is getting out of hand. We need to get this control program initiated. Yeah. So, and that gives her more, more stuff to do and have it more of a purpose. And
to be right in the middle of it too, and have that exactly, have more of a purpose. That actually makes me think too. I don't think I told you, like with Jeremy was at the protest in New York. Mm-hmm. Told you about that.
You just told me a little bit,
yeah. So he went to there was one day he went to the protest. It was like mayhem, big time protest, and then the flashbang, just like described, the flashbangs and the smoke and the fucking police cars exploding and rubber bullets and kind of like mayhem. And like there was also the just that whole intense. It was like really scary and intense. But then the next night he went to another protest that was much more peaceful, where in Brooklyn it was a candlelight silent vigil in a park, I think it was, where he was describing it. It was just like a pin could drop. It was just like thousands of people in this park, and it was just so quiet with candles. It was just beautiful. And then what they did was that they all marched peacefully into an area in Brooklyn, like that's a black neighborhood that, like you said, generally you never go into this neighborhood. Like, it's just like, this is the black neighborhood, this is the white neighborhood. Don't go in there. That, like, whether it's gangs or just like the fear of like, you just don't fucking go there.
Yeah.
And he said that it was just this march where it was like a majority white people basically walking very peacefully with candles through that neighborhood, which the way he described it, it's like, I don't think it's like that's never happened before. And they're just walking through this neighborhood with candles. And he just said that, like, comparing to the night before, that it was just so crazy going through this neighborhood and having all the people in the apartments just like cheering, clapping, and like crying and just being like, yeah, thank you. And he just described it as this like really beautiful moment. And like at one point somebody yelled out the window, like, this is really great that you guys are doing this, but you guys need to go into the white neighborhoods. They're the ones that need to hear this. And it's like, in a way, it's like, Jeremy's like, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, this was also very important as well. Right, be like, look, we're here. We're with you. We're not afraid to come in here because we just want you to know that, like, we stand with you and we're not afraid to, like, be here with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I'm like, the way you just described that kind of scene with Lilith and the boombox, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Okay.
And then just going through it, and then, like, maybe it's not a black neighborhood. Maybe it's like an area like a fucking tent city or some shit. They're just going through, and it's just all the homeless people, and like the homeless people are coming out, and like a place that you never go, like Skid Row, you don't go there, and just everyone goes through there. And then, like you said, at sooner or later at some point, they turn around the corner and it's the SWAT teams and the people, the cops on horses and the tanks or whatever the fuck. Right, and then they just start like disperse, and just fucking mayhem starts going, and everyone scatters, and then they like grab Lilith and get her the hell out of there.
Yeah. 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 That's a lot to play. Yeah, a lot to work with. Wow, that's intense that Jeremy went through.
Yeah.
Both of those experiences.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never heard him sound like that before. Like the first night after that, it was just like listening to him, like, holy fuck, man.
Well, good for him for being out there. Hope he stays Stay safe though.
Yeah, so I told him like, you better keep your ass safe, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. And then yeah. So it definitely we could do something like that. I'll figure out where that would land the best. Where because Lilith has quite a bit more to do now instead of just laying around or whatever she does. But then after that, they could be like, all right, you can after that you can't go anywhere. Like you're never leaving our like custody again. She loses all control after that. Like there's no way she's going out. So that could be, obviously that'll be before, huh?
Well,
because
okay,
they wouldn't let her out after. I can't see them letting her out after that. So I was thinking of maybe making Matt be the one that does the stuff. We could just have him do all the stuff at Stanford, so she doesn't have to sneak out to go to Stanford and pretend to be this person from Rolling Stone and play the thing, and then have the monkey happen, and then she talks to Matt. Matt has to go talk to her, and then she has to, they have to. It just seems like there's so much to do there, and like we don't need the David or the Newman. What's his fucking name? Ben Neiman. You don't need the Ben Neiman scene.
Ben Neiman.
He doesn't. That doesn't need to happen. So I'm thinking like, if you're okay with it, I can at least, can at least experiment with seeing if it would work that Lilith doesn't go there, and we can cut out that whole her scene, and then we could just have Matt do. We could have him know Jennifer or something like that, because he went to Stanford, and then he could just go there, do the whole thing, and then I don't know, and then just have a different time where Lilith sneaks out when she's kind of losing it, and then she doesn't sneak out to go do anything except just to get out, and then she just finds a bar.
Wasted in that whole thing. Yeah, because that whole thing where she like doesn't she? God bless you. Doesn't she like get permission from Ellie at that point to go out?
What's that?
Like when she goes out and has that like whole thing, she like asks Vincelli for
permission. Yeah. He tries to give her like a chauffeur, and she's like, "No, it's my favorite city. I just want to go out by myself." And then she goes to Stanford, and
is that going to be after the thing or before this new thing where she?
I would say that'd be after, because then it's like, then she goes and does a bunch of drugs and stuff, and she's not the same after that. So she's not being really activist-y after she almost dies, and she's a different person at that point.
But if it's after, and like we're saying that other time where it's like, you're never leaving our custody again, what I'm wondering is like, when she does go out, should she like fucking literally sneak out and like doesn't act like Vincelli's not there like to get a chauffeur or anything like that?
Yeah.
She just fucking sneaks
sneak. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I like that.
Because
and then there's the sneaking out.
Yeah, because that is not part of Barnhart's plan. Like if she asked, they wouldn't let her go out again, and that's why he had to go get her. That's why. That's right. That's what you're saying. Like if he needs that much control, that he went personally out to go snatch her up, because that's how important it was to get her back, and how much of it shows how much that was not part of the plan.
Yeah.
By him standing in the ER in the hospital room in the background soaking wet.
Yeah.
It shows how intense that is once you realize that that's what happened.
Yes.
So how she sneaks out, I don't know. Maybe she gets some help from Zobgob ninjas. They throw her a rope or something like that. But
Zobgob ninjas. There will always be Zobgob ninjas.
So all right, yeah. So she goes to this protest. They end up. I like that. They end up in Tent City. To kind of have a reoccurring theme about this being about the homeless or something like that. And then of course I like that it's peaceful, whether or not there's music or not. Maybe they could start singing, and maybe they don't need a boombox. Maybe there could be something like that. I just think music should be involved to kind of show.
Yeah, absolutely.
She just starts singing, and maybe people are like, "Oh shit, is that Lilith?" Because they can't see her face. I think that'd be cool.
Wearing a mask.
Yeah, she's wearing a mask, and all of a sudden she's singing a Liquid Crystal or a Fabric song. She's singing a Fabric song.
Yeah.
And everyone starts singing. And then I like that you turn the corner, and all of a sudden cops on horses and shit like that. And they're like, "You need to disperse immediately." Or maybe they just shoot, or I don't know. Who knows?
This is an unlawful protest.
Yeah. Then she's out of there.
Yeah.
And that kind of stresses her out more. And then I don't know exactly what would happen in between then and then whatever maybe that is the tipping point for her. I don't know. And then it's like, what would be the thing then that makes her need to just sneak out, and go crazy? There's got to be.
What is it again at this point? When
I don't fucking know.
I know there's a lot of shit that's changing like right now, but that's okay. Like I think, she leaves originally because she does that after the whole thing with Jennifer, right? While she's out that time.
Yeah, she goes out to Jennifer first,
and then it's like after that because Jeff's dead. That's when she just goes and
starts driving. Yeah.
So it's kind of all so since she doesn't do that with Jennifer, the thing that maybe like gets her to leave.
I hope this happens too. I hope I can work this in the script because that to me that's still as it is right now. Like her going to see Jennifer wouldn't just set her off. We tried to like come up with a why that would be. She reminded her of her mom, or she reminded her of Melissa. Whatever that was. Yeah. So this should be more something like this happens, therefore this happens, and it makes sense, and not like a forced, convoluted making up an excuse for why she would just go off the deep end.
Right.
But maybe hold on, let me find out where it is right now. I'm trying to search what it would be. Oh shit.
Lilith, the melancholic front woman of the famous band The Fabric. I love this description. I gotta reread this.
Oh, you're reading it?
No. I mean, I'm just saying, like, because I read Mandala, but I didn't get to read the analysis today.
Right.
Saying, like, I want to reread the analysis.
Yeah. So she's just. It's not till page 80. That's deep.
She breaks down and has that whole thing.
Well, then when she decides to go out. That's when she asks. So Chris, so the president comes on there at the hotel. They're getting ready to go on to the flight. They're at the airport, and then the president's seal comes on, and my fellow Americans, and then he gives the whole Atlas flu epidemic. We've accelerated the testing, new vaccine, blah, blah, blah. They get on the flight. They go to San Francisco. They're in the hotel room. Chris is like, I'm going to go out or hang out around town. And then she's like, this has never been really solid to me either. But he's like, do you want to come with? She's like, no, she's like, I'm exhausted. I just need to lay around for a little bit. And he's like, okay, I'm leaving, bye. And then she like remembers that Matt sent her that message, explaining the cycles and why the thing is different, the wordy. I'll just get right to it. My analysis revealed two distinct frequencies in the added subwoofer track. One is 13, one's 13.5. The other is between 14 and 15, 14.5 and 15. And on the record, I sent this thing. So this is the video of Matt talking while she's like looking at the stuff, the charts or the levels, the graphs showing. This is all very complicated. She's unsure of the implications, and she pulls out her cigarettes. And that's when she sees the paper that Jeff gave her with the address at Stanford. So then she's like, oh, I'll just go downstairs and I'll trick Vincelli into letting me leave. And then she leaves.
Yeah.
And then this whole fucking thing how long is this at? Jennifer's 88. So, Jesus Christ. Yeah, so it's like 8 pages of her going to Stanford, getting there and talking to her and then leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then she just goes out on her, what reason I'm here. Yeah. Abigail, hey, you're okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then she has wild dreams where her body just starts going like, oh. And then she gets into her car, hears a song, and goes and gets.
Does it? That's right. She hears a song.
Yeah, goes and gets fucked up. Yeah. Oh man, this.
I mean, there could still be something that, like, because I mean, the whole thing with it should be something that brings back the wound. Like,
but I feel like it. Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't just be like I'm in the car, I was fine, and then all of a sudden this song made me want to go crazy.
No.
Yeah. I think there should be an
Yeah.
incident.
There should be an incident.
An incident that makes her remember, like you said, it reopens the wound. But we don't want to overdo it with, like they said, like with the sadness and how fragile she is. It's like it kind of loses the effect once you're like, oh my god, in the next scene she's like this, and the next scene she's barely holding it together, and it's like all right, so I don't know, it's hard to think about it now because of the other things that I'm gonna have to put in that we just talked
there's
about.
A whole bunch of other stuff that like
So I think I'll need to do what we just talked about before we can figure out
I agree
where everything is. And like you said with so in The Dark Knight Rises, you're saying they change time, they go backwards and forwards a little bit.
No, not backwards. There's no backwards.
They just skip.
Just like there's a lot of time skipping.
Okay.
Because like in story time, Bruce Wayne is in the prison in that hole, and he's like fucked up. His back's fucked up.
Right. Yeah.
And there's like, I guess there's a TV down there for some reason. So he's like knowing what Bane's doing in Gotham. For some reason, there's a fucking TV.
Of course. Yeah.
Like, because it's like I could see the writers being like, "Cause how is he gonna know? Like, gotta know somehow." Like, oh, of course. Well, there's a TV down there.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's down there in story time. He's down there. He sees what's going on, and that motivates him to get his ass into gear to get up. But he can't just get up. Yeah. He has to heal first, and that takes a long time. And then there's a part where he's like hanging on a thing, and they hit his back and like snap his back into like place, I guess. Yeah. Which like obviously you can't just like get back up and walk because he doesn't just do that. Yeah. He has to heal. He does push-ups. He like gets his strength back, and then eventually he gets up the strength to start climbing up that fucking tunnel again, falls, hurts his back again, waits, time passes, and then he has to do it again. Like, but that whole thing takes place in like a sequence. It's like an intercut montage, but it's all happening with the music happening. It's almost like we're watching this happen in real time, but it's not. Right. And it's just like, that's the thing. There's so much shit that happens. That's what felt I'm like, this is like, how long was he fucking down there for?
Right.
Like, it must have been at least a month.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. Fucking at least a month.
Yeah, he's not superhuman, right? He's just fucking Batman.
No, and it's like clearly he's fucked up, and every time he falls down that thing, he's like out of commission for a while. Mm-hmm. And because the thing is, while that's being intercut, it's intercut with Bane at the football stadium. That's where that whole thing kind of starts. He's at the football stadium and he hits the button, the thing explodes, the bridges blow up, Gotham is cut off from the rest of the world, no one can escape, and he comes out and he's like, "We've got a bomb, we're going to destroy Gotham," and blah, blah, blah. And then like the next thing that happens is we see Bane on the front steps of like Gotham, like banks or whatever, or like the government, and he's giving a speech there. And then the next thing we see is Bane giving like another speech somewhere else. Yeah. But it's kind of like the way it plays off. It's like a montage. It's almost like just one speech, but it's happening in these multiple places where we see Bane here, and then we see Bane here, and then we see Bane here. And it's like, that's the thing that kind of made it weird, was like, how long, like how much time is elapsing during this thing? Yeah. It was just too much too soon. So, but like if there was some sort of happy middle ground where we could do something like that. Yeah. Because it kind of happens. I mean, a lot like time elapses during the story, but.
And we don't really, as much as the only thing is because we're like on tour, So it's like, there's times and there's places that tours don't go on forever, but but we don't, we've kind of made up, they're going to San Francisco just because it was convenient. Like other places, we don't have to like say when we're there or what city. Like we're not a slave to like, in 2 weeks we're going to be in Kansas City, we're going to be there for 3 days, and then we're going to go down south. We don't have to do that. We don't do that, but there are still a couple of times where we're like, obviously Memorial Day concert is a date, specific date. But I think
it's interesting that just happened right as all this shit's happening.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't even think that Memorial Day was the Mandala Day, and it was Machiavelli's birthday.
and all this shit started happening. The satellites launched, dude. Like the fucking riots, the protests, the fucking virus. Like it's literally all right there, man. The 5G.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
That's like what the fuck.
This movie obviously should come out on Memorial Day.
Obviously.
Except that's probably they're probably like never release a movie on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because nothing's coming out now, so we don't have a real frame of reference.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I'll think about it more of as a timeless thing, you know. Except for the only time we need is to show the progression. Like, okay, it's escalated this much since our last scene. That's the only increments of time there should be. It doesn't need to say we're starting in this month, because then it'll be like, all right, well, if you're starting in this month and the last day is Memorial Day, then you have X amount of days. Like we should kind of keep that as abstract as possible, because it will let us bounce around more.
Yeah.
Not saying we're going forward or backwards, but
yeah, we don't have to say like even the tours. Like we don't have to say the dates of the tours. We could just show like, like the cities.
Yeah, and they could be like Gotham. Like it doesn't have to be we're only in I don't even know why we're in San Francisco.
I think it had something to do with like, I don't know.
Oh, Stanford.
Yeah, right.
So that's the only reason we're there. And I think there's no other city except for Washington, D.C. That's the only one on the steps of the Lincoln Monument. Like that's the only other specific place. So
the one show that's not in the dome.
Right. And maybe Matt could be in San Francisco. Like we don't even have to be in San Francisco. Like Matt could be out there. Maybe that's where he's producing all this stuff and he still lives out there, and maybe he still knows Jennifer. So Lilith doesn't have to deal with any of that kind of spy shit, because the more I think about it, the more completely unrealistic that is.
Yeah.
Even if
it's a little.
Jennifer's not buying. She wasn't buying her being somebody else. She wasn't buying the fake outfit, but she was still like
Yeah. It's a little like, it's almost like there's still some baggage from that Francis Bacon days of like him building some sort of fucking device and shit.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Like
we don't. Yeah. We only need to see a little bit. Like we can make that a montage. We can make the whole Matt thing a montage.
Yeah.
And we only need to see. He doesn't need to explain everything. We only need to see him to say whatever he needs to say a little bit to either to Lilith and the thing, and then we need to see him at Stanford. We need to see him play the CD, and we need to see the monkey go crazy, and that's it. We don't need to explain that she's a this, she's a that. Like only we see one monkey go crazy. And that we see that that's different than the other monkeys. So something else is going on. Maybe we could see her inject. Like we could see all of this. Could be a paragraph montage.
Literally just see it. We don't have to end any dialogue or explanation.
He could be getting in there right when she's giving Susan the vaccine, so we can see that that monkey had that, and then blah 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 blah. Maybe they could know each other. That would make it a lot easier, and they could be flirty or just comfortable.
Yeah, that actually solves a lot right there.
Like, put the CD in, play the CD, monkey goes crazy, sterilize the monkey. And then the only other thing is this paper. Like, that's still really loosey-goosey to me. Like, having to find the paper that he wrote in order to get all the evidence. Like, that's the thing that they need.
Which is what then transpires, leads to the SUV showing up and like having to escape in the car to meet Chris.
Yeah.
Like Chris just standing there out like on a fucking like on the side of the road by a lamp, just like in the dark with a lamp.
You guys okay? They come up, they're all bloody, their collars off. He's like, "Are you guys okay? Take it, get out of here!" What?
Just Kid Harington, like, oh, okay.
He like tries to act normal.
Bloody, like,
yeah.
It's like, how will I know it's them? You'll know it's them.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, how can we? Unless you can come up with a different idea, I know it's a major point at this point. Like they need to find. Is there something else that can happen besides him having to find this secret paper that Dr. Teen wrote that explains the whole thing? Like, otherwise, I guess that we gave that because that was like the hope, right? If they can find this, then maybe they could spread the information and they can save some people. Otherwise, there's no hope.
Right.
So we either have to tie that situation into.
How about we don't see Dr. Teen really again during any of this, do we?
No, last time we see him is when he tells Jeff to go check
Yeah.
the gate and he
I'm
dies. But
wondering if
before
there
that,
may
there's only
be.
one or two scenes of Dr. Teen like saying, "Look, isn't this cool?" And then he's like, "Hey Jeff, you should work under me." And then that's when Jeff's
Right.
like, "Oh, this isn't so bad. He seems just a nice little doctor, you know." And that's
Yeah.
pretty much
Choi
it.
Teen. Choi Teen. Yeah. So I'm wondering, like I'm not sure yet, but like there could be even a way if we're doing these montages and we're seeing things, not have to actually show anything. If there could be maybe a way that like Dr. Teen somehow discloses this thing himself. I
Could
don't
it be
know.
a Vincelli Barnhart Dr. Teen conversation?
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe a
you could do all
conversation.
three of them in a conversation.
Yeah, maybe. And then
Because
like,
Dr. Teen is almost as essentially as important as Vincelli is, right? Like,
oh yeah, he's like in charge of the science division of the whole
well,
thing.
yeah, the webgram or the
Yeah,
web
from the
thing that
bar.
you
Yeah,
made,
yeah, yeah.
Teen was in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Choi Teen.
Choi Teen. Yeah, he's the one that can. Yeah, so
So
he.
maybe we could cover a lot of bases just having that conversation between amongst the three of them.
Yeah, and then also to think like, not sure how it connects just yet, but there's that action of like we were saying, that was necessary to give some sort of hope. Like if they find this paper, then they can
Mm-hmm.
tell people. So maybe if there's and Matt and Jennifer are the ones that sort of like are facilitating that process. So if there's some sort of way that like, I don't know if they overhear this conversation or like if there's like somehow that like they must have that information to want to,
Okay.
like there's got to be a way to like that should probably still be there as like the because that's the
Okay.
like
Yeah.
so if there's instead of this paper, maybe it's like this conversation that somehow they eavesdrop on, or
But I feel like
I don't know.
I see what you're saying. It's tough.
Yeah.
And because the only reason I did that paper thing is because of the show Rubicon. That was essentially what happened in the show Rubicon, which if you haven't seen, it's incredible.
No, I haven't.
It's only like 9 episodes on AMC, like 10, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they need to have something tangible. It can't just be
Right.
like a conversation. It has to be like, we have this thing, we can show it, we can save people.
What
now.
if
Holy
what
Grail.
if because Matt's a sound engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like there's that whole scene like he like develops a device that like with the frequencies and the glasses and the, because we had talked about that
Oh
too.
yeah.
So like he's like the crafty guy. Like what if he has a way of like tuning in, like what if that conversation that they're having is like over a telephone or like over like a video chat or like some sort of like thing, and like Matt has a way of like interfering and like tapping into it and like getting a recording of that conversation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time because like there's a lot of new
too.
stuff that's coming in.
Yeah.
And like a lot of things are changing and we're trying to like adapt to the old story with this other new stuff so I'm having a little bit of a hard time at this stage of it.
Right. Well, I mean, we'll have to do a few of these, obviously. Yeah. So we have 30 days, but we'll have to do phases.
Yeah.
So maybe not do the classic Alex and John and get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
Come up with too many ideas.
We're at that point now.
Yeah, I think we are. And I think that's a separate issue. What we're just trying to tap into that we can't really do right now. I think that should be a separate.
Yeah. Cause a lot of the context of the world has just gotten changed and elaborated upon. So I think right now what we got to do is we got to write that into it. We got to develop that into it, hone in on that first. And then once that's in there, I think then the next step, is to start thinking logistically, timeline wise of what's going to happen now that those things are the way of the world.
Right.
Because like,
the possibilities will present themselves once we put these new things in there. It's like we're still thinking in the old context when we're in the new, we're thinking Barnhart style, but we need to be thinking Lilith style right now, but it's hard for us to do. So I think it'll become more clear, but there's rereading it last night. That was just like, there's a lot of stuff. I was like, there's a lot of weak stuff in here. And a lot of it centered around Stanford stuff and getting the paper. Those were like the big things that were kind of weak to me that we really could.
I think what I want to do, I'm going to read it again with all of this in mind.
Yeah,
now that there's this new stuff that we have. And what I'll do is I'm going to go through like, really just highlight, okay, this we don't need, this could be synthesized, like, you know, really make another round of notes with this stuff in mind. And then we should do is we come back, we go over those notes, and then we agree on like, okay, this is now where we're at.
Yeah.
And then we can now, and in that conversation, we can start to implement, we can have a discussion on how to implement these new things.
Yeah. And where
that we're doing.
Yeah.
And then we take it from there. It's like, 'cause I feel like we're at a point where we like reach maybe about 3/4 of the way into the story.
Yeah.
Or like 2/3 of the way into, two-thirds of the way into the story.
Yeah.
Like, and then we lock that down, so to speak. And then we can take, you know, start patching in like the finale, like the missing pieces the dominoes that'll lead us to that final moment.
Agreed.
And what I'll do is I'll wait. I'm going to I know I've said this before, but I'll definitely upload this tonight because of just like we got the 30 days and that way I want to go back and re-listen to this again because there's a lot of stuff that we just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. And scratch the other one that we like started and had to stop today.
Yeah. I know. I'm just going to, I'll upload
just
this.
Do this one.
Yeah. Cause the other one was more just like the real world mandala shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking
shit.
Crazy.
Because I think that we should that the pacing should be in mind the whole time. Also, okay, so we really need to lock down what genre we want this to be, because they're like, it's cool because it bounces around in so many genres, but you really need to know you know how you're gonna market it, marketability, and you want to be able to not be like, you know, it's like every time I try to describe my music to the 4 people that know about it, I like, oh, well, it's this and that. If I really should just come up with like, well, it's like this. It's like a combo between these two, you know? And I think we need to do that. So when you read it again tomorrow, just think about what genre and what the genre and the specific tone, or at least 2 genres, like so we can kind of
I feel like
work within those.
Definitely one of them.
Thriller, I agree.
Drama, thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
encompasses all of it, really.
Yeah.
Science fiction to it.
Yeah, but that's not
like that. Like we can synthesize a lot of that sciencey, like technical stuff. Like that shouldn't define it as a science fiction,
right?
Or a science.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's not. I think the pacing. Yeah, I think we should think more. I think we have enough drama in there. You know, so I think this time we should think a lot heavy on the thriller, just to kind of keep that in mind. So think of it as almost a pure thriller going through this next time.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, page turner classically. It's, you want to be able to be like, oh, you know, like one of the last note from the contest was you want the reader to enjoy reading it. You know, that's how you sell it. If they're not enjoying it when they're reading it, they're not gonna. So you don't want them to be like, oh, this page, and then, you know. So thinking about that, every page have something
thriller.
Yeah, have something. And I mean, would you call Arlington Road a thriller? I guess. Or,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
maybe I'll rewatch that, and then, what's another like classic thriller? I don't know, but just keep building the stakes. Basically, just keep building, keep the attention up, and then we should almost try to do too much of that so that we can cut back on it, but don't be worried to overdo it on that realm so that we can cut back. It'd be better to pull back on it a little bit than have to keep adding to it, I think.
And I think also, you know, like Midsummer would be good to watch as well, just because of the way that they tell the story, the way that it ends, and how it leaves you, and then to be able to, like, the whole idea of Mandala, like where it leaves you in kind of this like, whoa, what the fuck moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that Midsummer plants all of these things throughout the movie that, like, again, like literally when you go back and watch it the second time, you're like, holy shit, they were showing me everything the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay, yeah. So keep everything in mind while...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look if there are any other little things.
Yeah, I just love that log line that they came up with.
What is it again?
A rock star and her band are unwittingly coerced into participating in a scientific experiment that is linked to the spread of a technological virus designed to spread virally through music.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the wordiest fucking thing of all time, but yeah.
It says it all, really. Like, as a log line for the plot.
Yeah, it does say it all. Except it says, and her band.
Yeah, but it's not her band.
It's not her band.
It's not really
Unwittingly coerced.
Like a rock star and her band. It's just like,
and her friend.
More more of an adjective to describe the rock star. A something rock star is unwittingly coerced into participating.
Yeah.
Something.
In a science experiment that is linked to the spread of a technological virus designed to.
The word, and that's another thing too. They use the word "spread" twice, and that shouldn't be.
Spread and virus and virally. It's a little.
Yeah, spread. Yeah, a technological virus designed to spread virally. Spread of a virus to spread virally.
Spread through music.
To spread a virus designed to spread virally. Like, no.
No.
Like, okay. That's not
Thank
great.
you.
That needs to be reworked.
C. Brewington, Z. Griffin, and B. Bullen. Those were our humans that did this.
Yeah. $10 million.
10 million plus.
Yeah, 10 million plus. I mean, I'm glad it's not like 100.
Drama, musical, mystery is what they put it as. Mystery.
That's kind of cool too. Like,
it is a mystery, I suppose.
It is a mystery.
But yeah, I think we want to make it less drama.
Yeah, less drama, more thriller.
More thriller.
Thriller, musical, mystery.
Yeah, especially these days. I mean, people are only getting less and less. Their attention spans are only getting less and less. So you really got to keep them. Like fucking Transformers movies know who they're marketing or who they're playing to. That's why they got.
Like, there's dramatic elements to it, especially like understanding Lilith. Like, there's drama in Lilith's experience, but overall, it's more of a thriller by the nature of the pacing and right. the action shit that happens in it. Like, like again, Arlington Road. There are dramatic elements to that movie, but especially through Jeff Bridges' performance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it a drama, but it's more of a thriller. Because this is thriller.
And I always forget, who are we thinking of as the actor for Jeff right now?
We were thinking of Donald Glover.
Okay, that's what I thought. That still works. I've been watching a lot of Community recently.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, okay, that's good. That's what I was. That's what I was picturing today. But it had been a while since I thought about it. So.
And of course, Lily Collins.
Of course, Lily Collins. Matt Damon. I don't know if Mos Def is acting anymore. Because we were thinking of him for Matt, right?
Right.
It was Jason Segel originally.
And then wait, I thought there was not Mos Def. I feel like we had somebody else in there. Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, maybe we did have Michael B. Jordan in there.
Isabel.
Confirmed.
Isabel. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan as Matt.
And again, just another thing. It's like we want African American actors in this movie.
Yeah.
This will not be a whitewashed film.
Right.
So that'll be another thing. It's like to make this as relevant and progressive as possible without forcing it.
Right.
It's not going to be like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel.
Right.
That was very forced.
Right.
Like, I really liked Brie Larson, like when we thought of Brie Larson in there, but it was like, honestly, after watching Captain Marvel, I was just like,
yeah.
I mean, she's good. It was just like that movie was very like, we're going to hit you over the head with like neo-feminism right now.
Right.
Men suck and girls rule. Which
yeah.
I know it's like we need stuff like that, but it was just very forced.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's good entertainment.
No,
But
no offense, Brie Larson. Don't come
no
after
offense at
us.
all. You could be in the movie still.
Yeah.
You could be Melissa.
Yeah, you could pick. Yeah, bro, you could be Melissa. And we talked about like having all of the people that were they planned on being in the movie. It's some way, like somehow.
Uh-huh.
James Franco gets his arm stuck in the door,
Yeah.
and Dave is trying to pull him out and rips his arm out. Just again.
At least I didn't have to do it for 127 hours.
Yeah. It's more like 1 second.
Yeah, that's way better.
Way better. Way less time to be down there. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I feel this makes me feel a lot better. I can already feel the difference in it.
Yeah, with all that world building stuff, with the movement,
Mm-hmm.
and just another thing to think about, like sit on before we come back is like an actual name for this movement.
Right.
But like I like this whole idea of like kind of converging the Occupy Wall Street thing with the Black Lives Matter into a whole thing with the homeless. It's the disenfranchised people.
I don't know how meta we want to be.
What?
The Mandala Movement or something like that.
The Mandala Movement.
Because it incorporates everything. If she's trying to, it's written on my wall right here, so my eyes were just like Mandala. So
yeah.
If it is all encompassing, or
yeah, the word, because the only other time mandala is used is like in that Pentagon scene where it's like on the documents that like that they bring out, like the mandala control program. It's just, what if it's like, just like a thought, like what if they like we change that to just like the control program? There is no mention from like the establishment.
I think there's just the image of a mandala. Yeah, I don't think it says mandala.
No one ever actually says mandala in there.
No. Except for the
mandala movement.
Except for your Uncle Bruce's description, like the dragon mandala at the end coming through, at the final show.
Yeah.
But there's no one actually says connected. It's everything.
Yeah, and Lilith could be instrumental in like creating that meme. Because she's the one drawing the mandala in the beginning. And then the mandala happens at the end, right before she dies. The mandala is on the symbol for the thing. It's just like one of those things too. It's like, who came up with the mandala movement? Was that her idea? Was that their idea? It's like the whole thing with Hollywood. It's like, did they plan that, or was that just part of the fractal nature of things? That might be kind of interesting.
Just thrown in something like that. I mean, and then a mandala is just a circle, right? So it could just be, that could be like kind of their symbol.
Yeah, the circle of life. If we're not, it's like we're all in this circle. These homeless people, it's like people treat them like they're outside the circle. We're all in the circle together. Mandala movement. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I can just anything with like I could see not quite maybe a fist in there, but like with a circle around it, just like stuff with a circle. Yeah. Just everything's circled. So kind of also like a symbolic, like paying attention, like when you're looking for something, you circle it on a paper so someone sees it. Yeah. So it's kind of like highlighting, like we're circling. Maybe that could be like when they're protesting, we're circling this area, we're highlighting this area, we're walking the tent city, we're circling the areas that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. And Lilith could, like, there could be a thing where maybe like, in her activism, she like, whether it's on TV or in a press interview or whatever, she can like actually describe what a mandala is. Like, what's this movement all about? Like, why is it called the Mandala Movement? And she's like, a mandala is a circle. We're all in the circle. And exactly what you just said. It's like we're highlights. Like we need to focus on this.
And that's why it could be like, she'll be like, well, what movement is it about? It's like, well, right now we're circling this movement, and that's the one we're focusing on. But it's not just about that movement. It's about when we go over here, we're going to circle this one, and that's going to be the theme of it. and that'll be our highlight. So it's malleable. It's not tied down to this group of people or that group of people.
Because it's all connected, which is what a mandala is. It's a symbolic representation of everything.
Yeah, and I can even see a graphic like when she's talking, like circle, 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 and then you pan out. Yeah. All the circles are connected, and it's a
and just draw a big circle around all of them.
It's a big web of mandalas, or it is a mandala.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, dude. I kind of like that. It's okay to go a little meta. Back to the Future did it. Christopher Lloyd looked right into the camera and said, "Back to the Future." Like,
well, have you seen the memes now from Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's got the drink in his hand and he's like pointing at the TV? You remember that? Have you seen that one yet?
No.
He's like sitting in the living room. It's like when he comes on TV.
Oh, yeah.
He's like that, and then people are like, made a meme. It's like when they say the name of the movie in the movie, and you're like,
yeah.
What do you call it? Oh, it's a Mandala Movement. That's the movie. Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah. And then and at the end with the big dragon mandala hologram laser shit, like that'll be like, man, it'd be crazy. Like if this movie got converted into 3D as well, watch this shit in 3D. It would be fucking epic.
No diggity. I just saw they're aiming for, you see this, James Cameron's in like quarantine somewhere, and then he's still planning a release date of like December 2021, I think, for Avatar 2.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'd seen a release date for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. He can help us with and that was him in space or in the zero gravity.
Yeah, with Elon Musk.
Yeah. Perfect.
Because I think they're like Tom Cruise is going to be making a movie in space.
Yeah. Yep. Of course he is.
Tom Cruise. Can't get enough of it.
Tom Space.
Tom goes to space.
Tom cruises to space.
Man. Okay. Well, yeah, all that world building stuff, I feel like once we cut out all of that other stuff.
Yeah, definitely think about everything that we can cut out. Like when you're going
through. The first thing I'm going to do, like when I read Mandala again, is I'm going to go through and just be like, nope. This, we don't need this. We don't need this. Could be changed. This could be, and then see where we stand with how many pages. And then the next step is we'll come back and we'll integrate all of this other stuff that we just discussed about the world building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to definitely create, like, I feel like all of that stuff, like we're describing, like, oh, read this page, that stuff coming out, and then this stuff going in is going to definitely be like, oh shit, there's shit going on.
Yeah.
Once we have that, then we can start moving into more of the logistical stuff about like what happens with the recording or how Dr. Teen and how, like, to Jennifer, to Matt, like to that like last leg until the final.
Yes.
The final shit.
Right. Yeah. That's the end of Act 2, essentially, right? Or like the beginning of Act 3 or somewhere.
I think so.
Yeah, it's a major point, obviously, but it still feels a little loosey-goosey. All right, cool. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's a lot to think about.
It's the Mandala Movement.
Mandala Movement.
That gives much more meaning to the name too. It's like, again, more layers to the name.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a mandala, symbolic representation of everything. It's not just like the symbol at the end. It's not just, it's all connected. And then again, like even more meta is like when this movie eventually comes out and how true it is in a lot of ways, representative of what actually has been going on now, just adds another layer of meaning to what mandala means.
Mm-hmm.
So like mandala is like one of those things where next time you look at a mandala, it's not just like, oh, I'm looking at a pretty picture. It's the idea is you're going to like in the fountain when he like looks up and sees that thing and just all time, like past, present, future, just like all line up. That's what's going to happen when people watch this movie is that the movie, what it's saying and the reality of what is going on are all going to be like, that's that's why the way I see it.
And that way we can explain to people in the audience who don't know what a mandala is.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be good. It'll be like that scene from Los Alamos. you know what a mandala is by any chance? And Cora's like, what? It would be a little bit better than that. A lot better than that.
I don't know. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Comes full circle.
Oh,
Yeah, that's so. People are just gonna ascend after they watch this movie.
just a circle back here. Yeah, that's what we've always said.
Right. Yep, the American way.
The original American way.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Shoe.
Epic. So yeah, once this just takes like maybe like 20-30 minutes to process. Once it's done, I'll upload it. And
Cool.
You saw the other ones I uploaded, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we'll, you let me know when you're
back up
free
again
again.
tomorrow. You want to like give it a couple of days, so we
Give it a
can
couple of days at least. I'd say it's
this,
at least after tomorrow, maybe Friday, if you're free Friday.
Yeah, I go up to Uncle Bruce's on Monday, and I spend 8 days there.
Okay.
I come back on the 16th.
Are you going to have any time there, or are you going to be zoned in there?
I'm probably going to be zoned in.
Okay.
I don't know if I will.
Okay, so we won't count on doing one of these when you're up there, just so it doesn't set us back.
Yeah, like let's try to let's reconvene on like Friday.
Okay.
And then we'll go over all that stuff. We'll after reading again, cut out the things, plot in where this new stuff that from today goes in, and then give it that like week to set to write in. And I'll be available. So like if there's things that come up, I'll be able to do that.
Okay.
And then when I come back on the 16th, maybe like that Wednesday or Thursday, then we come back in and we do the next stage.
Okay. So what day are you leaving again? The 8th?
The 8th on Monday.
And then you come back the 16th?
Yes. So the following Tuesday.
So we're going to talk. Oh, guess what Friday is? Full moon.
Yep. Full circle.
Full circle. Okay.
Yeah, everything's a circle, man. And Lilith, the dark moon Lilith is an astrological thing, and the moon is shaped like a circle.
Yes, it is.
I mean, the Earth is flat, but the moon is shaped like a circle.
It's a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle.
Oh man, and then my soccer team, their first game back is the 17th. The English League is starting to play again. I'm excited about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On what day?
Oh, the day after you get back, the 17th.
Nice.
The first game. It's the first game of the season restarting.
Oh my God, and they're actually doing it?
They're actually doing it. They're trying. They just retested everybody in the whole league and all their staffs for the 4th round, and one person out of 20 different teams,
all right,
20 different staff has it. So that's down from like 5 or 6 the first time, and then 2 or 3, and then now 1.
Yeah.
And then they play in 2 weeks. So
yeah. Oh, and by the way, I talked to Mike just before this, and he wanted me to say what's up.
What's up, Mayor?
Yeah, and it might actually be cool at some point, like in this process, we can bring him into this.
Yes.
Like when we have just to like maybe it's like if at any point we need that like maybe like when we get to that point where we're developing the pitch, like here's the story, like does that make sense? Like is that compelling, and is there anything that needs to be addressed? But yeah, he said to say what's up. He sends his love and he's excited.
Yeah, give it right back to him for me. I miss that guy. Thank you. Yeah, because obviously he's got the Midas touch when it comes to Mandala, so we could definitely use another
Midas touch. Yeah.
Mayorism here to show us something that we haven't seen yet. Okay. All right. So we talk Friday again, and then I'll write all that stuff the next week, and then we'll talk a couple days after that, or I'll send it to you, and then you can read it, and then we can.
Yeah, like 17th, 18th, something like that.
17th, 18th, and then we have the whole next week after that to kind of finalize everything, read it again, and then 1 or 2 little tweaks. And I'd like to send it in by Monday, even though it's not due till
Monday the
6th.
Well,
no, I guess it's not due till the 2nd, which is a Thursday. So
okay, so like maybe we can send it.
I guess by the first.
The first.
Yeah, I don't want to be scrambling too much.
No, that's a good idea.
So all of June, but as soon as we get to July,
Mandala month.
Mandala month. Yeah, I'm not
Mandala
drinking.
moment.
I'm not drinking this month either. So
Yeah, I haven't drank in like 4 days. I haven't smoked.
sweet. I'm
So,
still
yeah.
smoking. But
Yeah, I might do that. But like that's I'm gonna probably continue doing that as well.
yeah, keep it up if you can. It's gonna help me stay sharp and
Yeah, I've been
lockdown.
waking up early. Like
Nice.
set my alarm at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's been helpful.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Let's do it, man. Let's keep it rolling.
Right. This is it, man.
Sweet.
God bless you.
Pardon me. Thank you. God bless you too.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good stuff. We'll do all the stuff. Obviously, I'll probably text you tomorrow and having thoughts. I guess try not to have too many thoughts before we talk again, because
I'm gonna let this sink in. And like the next thing, it's not about thoughts. It's more about just going back, looking at the script, and just cutting out the things that we don't need.
Yeah. More technical.
And then we'll reconvene on that on Friday.
Cool. All right, man.
Awesome,
Stay safe out there.
Yep, will do, man. Lots of love, dude. Love you, man.
Love you.
And I'll upload this and I'll send this to you in a little bit.
Sweet. Sounds good.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Good times. Peace up. Doug, Bob. Peace, brother.
All right, man.